All right, joining us today on Pirate Radio Live, head coach of the ECU women's basketball Pirates, Kim McNeill, getting ready for the American tournament. Coach, we appreciate your time. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing great, and looking forward to watching you play. We're gonna have to wait a little while, but we'll see you in the
Yeah.
semifinals of the American tournament, and we'll talk about that. Just kind of let's talk about the season leading up to this point, and we've had you on a few times and talked about the ups and downs, way more ups than downs. But how do you feel as you wrap up the regular season about your team?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel really good about what we were able to accomplish this season. I think there were a lot of unknowns, with us losing so many kids to the portal and then having so many new kids on this roster. I've said it so many times before. I knew it was going to take some time. Whenever you add 10 new players to a roster of 13, it's going to take time to develop chemistry, amongst each other and just them amongst me, learning me and trusting the system. So I'm really proud of what we were able to accomplish thus far this season.
You proved to be one of the best teams in the American, right up there with Rice. I was at that Rice game in Minges,
Yeah.
and a great 39 minutes and 40 seconds of basketball. You guys led the entire
Yeah.
way, and it's not like they're an unbeatable team. We've seen that. So I don't want this to sound like a moral victory, but you definitely left that thinking, all right, we belong on the court with them. We should have beat them almost, right? So, coming out of that game, how did you feel about where your team sat in the league?
I would definitely agree with you, Clip. I think that we come out of that thinking, hey, let's replay that last minute of the game.
Yeah.
I think the thing that was so hard for me to swallow is that, we had a chance to finish that game out on who we are, our identity, and that's defense. We needed to get one stop, and we would be in a different situation right now, and we weren't able to pull it out, lack of communication. But in every situation there's a learning opportunity, and I think we learned from that. We came back, we watched it, we discussed the things that we could have and should have done differently in order to get a different outcome. And so hopefully all of those things that we've experienced will help us come Friday and Saturday.
Kim McNeill joining us, Pirates in the semis, awaiting their opponent. And, Coach, what can you take from your run in the conference tournament a few years ago into postseason play? Is it different because you had to win a bunch of games in a bunch of days for that one? This one's a little different, but just that postseason experience, what can you take into it?
Yeah, the prep is a little bit different. Obviously we're going into this thing not knowing who we're going to play,
Yeah.
until Thursday. So I've kind of taken, one team at a time, that's on our side of the bracket, just watching them, going back and watching when we played them the first time and trying to get in, a more recent game. But it's good to have some days off. This will be just our second game in 2 weeks because we had our bye week last week. So we're able to get some kids back healthy, and get some mental rest too. This is a long season. Basketball plays for a really, really long time. And sometimes at this point, if you're not used to being here, which we have a lot of freshmen on the team, it can get mentally draining, so you got to find a way to keep them excited and keep them going. And so we took some days off, to keep them going. But I would say, with this group going into the championship run, 3 years ago, it was a team that hadn't won, a team that hadn't even won a game in the conference tournament. So kind of similar, with a lot of kids on this team not experiencing a lot of winning and a lot of winning in a conference tournament. So, it's about belief, it's about trust, it's about buy-in, it's about everybody taking their game up just one notch, doing a little bit more, whether it's 5 minutes, whether it's 10 minutes, just come out and doing the little things that will help us be successful this weekend.
Kim McNeill joining us, the old rest versus rust debate, and it sounds like you're very cognizant of that and trying to avoid that. So when will you get to the tournament?
So we're gonna leave in the morning. So
Okay.
we obviously we played at Tulsa on Saturday. We took Sunday off. We practiced yesterday and kind of took it back to like a summertime practice because, we don't know who we're playing. So I kind of took away, some things from some of the teams that I felt like we would have a chance to play on Friday. And, we worked on different things defensively, some trying to, fine tune some things offensively, did some scrimmaging, getting up and down, but still at this point of the year, you don't want to be out there for a long time, So we were about an hour and 15 minutes. Took today off. We'll travel in the morning. We'll leave around 10, get down there. The coaches will go and watch, the set of games tomorrow. We'll practice about 3:30 tomorrow. And then we'll watch the game on Thursday to see who we play. And then immediately after that, go practice and get ready to play on Friday.
There we go. Kim McNeill, the plan is set for East Carolina as they get ready for the American tournament. You'll have time to celebrate this season afterwards, Coach. But how about Kennedy Fauntleroy and what she was able to do? We talked about her during the year, and good to see her, receive the accolades she did yesterday.
I don't know if there has been a ECU women's basketball player that, came away as decorated as she's coming away from this season. Five awards. That's a lot, and I would be lying if I told you I wasn't a little disappointed that she didn't get player of the year. But I knew it would be close, and what you got to give Rice their credit. They had an unbelievable season, to just drop one that final last game. And Flores is a good player as well, but I'm always biased with my players. And then I was a little upset, that Anjanae Hutton didn't make a team. I thought she deserved to get something with, the way she finished out the last 7 or 8 games with how many double doubles she got. So, but at the end of the day, it's about winning, and that's where they are right now. Both of those young women, they'd rather win a championship, and that's their mindset. They want to go in this weekend and win a championship.
Kim McNeill joining us. Kim, I'm a sports junkie. I mean, I watch it all. I love the hoops, but every now and then I'll turn on Survivor or Traders or something to get away from it. So, are you watching like at home college basketball, men's, women's? Do you have a show? What are you doing when you're not coaching the team?
Listen, I know people are gonna think I'm nuts, but I stay up to at least 12 o'clock at night watching film, watching games.
Man.
I'll have my TV on, and I got my computer on. Normally the TV's on some form of an ESPN Plus. I watched the men play a lot this year. Was definitely rooting for Coach Swartz and his team. And then I've got my computer going on with some type of game film from us. And then at about 12 o'clock, I turn it off and I'm like, I want to be normal. So I find something on Netflix or Hulu or something to watch till about 1:30, and then I fall asleep and I get up the next morning and do it all over again.
All right, Kim McNeill is normal for 1 hour out of the day, folks.
1 hour.
Coach, hit on we talked about Kennedy, and then you mentioned I think Ajane as well. But how about some of the other players that helped you get here? Who will you be counting on to try to make a little run here in this tournament?
Obviously we didn't talk about Kiana Rembrandt making third team, so 2 years back to back, her making, an all conference team. Super proud of her, and grateful for what she was able to come in here and do for us, for this one season. But I'll be honest with you, Clip, our bench is going to be key. Our two freshmen coming off the bench, Taylor Barner, Olivia Hilliard, I thought they played really well against Tulsa. They came in and gave us some good minutes off the bench, and allowed, some of the, Kennedy to sit a little bit, not because she was in any trouble, but because sometimes it's good to just keep her off the floor, the same way with the post. So if they can come in and give us some good, strong minutes like they did against Tulsa, that just makes us deeper, that just makes us fresher, and that just allows us, to be able to have more threats on the floor. So our 4 kids coming off the bench are going to be key this weekend.
All right, Pirates coming up Friday. They earned the spot in the semifinals because of what they did during the regular season. So, Coach, we wish you the best of luck. Really hope you're cutting the nets down this
I
weekend.
do
That would be
too.
awesome. And we'll have another watch party and a selection show watch party celebration. So that could be coming up, but you got to get a couple wins first. Thank you for
Yep.
joining us today, and best of luck to you.
No problem. Thank you, and go Pirates.